So I think as people, we have a natural inclination to try and help other people. I think that we're just configured, we're wired that way, right? We just always want to reach out and help other people. But now here's what we have to understand about business, about a freight broker business, a trucking business. Each of us are responsible for our own business. You chose to be a freight broker for a reason. Another person chose to be a truck driver for a reason, right? And what you have to understand is whatever those reasons are, it's your responsibility to make that business whatever you want it to be. It's not the freight broker's responsibility to make the trucking business better. It's not the trucking person's responsibility to make the freight broker business better. Each of us have that responsibility for ourselves. And what I see a lot of times is people want to come in and raise prices because in their minds, they say they're not going to pay truckers unfairly. And I think that's something that should be applauded. You shouldn't want to pay someone an unfair amount for the service that they provide, right? But at the same time, there's something called the marketplace, right? And if you go out and you say, okay, the market calls for this truck driver to be paid $1,200 in this particular lane. And you say because of the goodness, the kindness in your heart, the compassion you have for people, you're not going to pay $1,200. You're going to pay $1,500 for this load. Well, the question that you have to ask yourself is, where is that additional money going to come from? How are you going to get an additional $300 to pay that driver because you just have this compassion for this truck driver? Where is it going to come from? Are you just going to pull it out of thin air? Because that lane is a $1,200 lane according to the market. So how I see it is whatever the market calls for, you have to be competitive with the market. If you start pricing yourself outside of the market, whether it's lower or higher, you're not going to be in business for long, right? Because if you're giving carriers more money than the lane calls for, then that means that you're sacrificing your own profit. And when you sacrifice your own profit over a period of time, then it means that you're NFL. You won't be in this business for long, not for long if you do that. So I think that we have to just use good business sense and understand the marketplace that you're in, understanding how the trucking business works, right? Yes, I always want to be fair with my truck drivers, but I go into the space and I look at what the market calls for in a lane, and I am going to try to be as close to market as possible. Now, there are going to be times where I have good rates, really good rates, because of whatever the circumstances may be. There may be a certain circumstance that's going on with a shipper. Like, for example, the shipper may have a load that has to move now, and they are not as price conscious as they would be if they had time to move the load. So I'm going to get a better price in that lane. When I get better pricing in that lane, then I can offer better pricing to my carriers. But what you have to understand is just going out and saying, I'm going to give X amount of dollars, extra dollars to a carrier is not going to be a sustainable business model. You won't be able to do that for a very long period of time. You won't be able to sustain yourself in your business if you practice that way of doing business. I would suggest that yes, there's nothing wrong with having a compassionate heart. At the same time, if the money is not there, if there's only $1,200 in the lane, then you have to pay that carrier based on what the lane is calling for, right? And it's just not one of those things that you're going to be able to do just raising prices. It's not going to work. It is going to be something that causes you and your business a lot of heartache and pain. Don't get me wrong. I get the sentiment in your mind. You're saying that you've heard all of these things about carriers not being paid properly. And what your idea is to come in and make great relationships with carriers by paying them what it is that you think they deserve. But just because you think they deserve it does not mean that your business can afford to pay it, because the market is going to give you a price. And if you don't go by that price, that's when you start to get yourself in trouble. So that's what I wanted to share with you really quick today. Always look at the market, determine what your prices are based off of what that lane is calling for, the variables in that lane, the different dynamics that's happening in that lane will form your price. And that is the price that you're going to have to go with in order to be profitable as a freight brokerage. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you want to learn more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series, and it's titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It's going to do just what it says. It's going to go in and show you how we move loads, how we talk to shippers, how we talk to carriers, and how we get negotiations moving so we can get loads moved. Also, if you're interested in learning about how we go out and find the customers that we work with, those shippers, I'll leave a free video right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.